What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I am Chandler Rome, back from travel hell, alongside Tyler Stafford, who did a wonderful job as the host of the last podcast, which just so happened to be the podcast covering, I don't know, the biggest story that has happened to the Astros in the last at least year and a half. Tyler, you and Josh did a nice job. I was impressed.
Thank you. I was very nervous. One about the audio levels. I was twisting stuff the whole time, that hoping I was getting that right. And there's a lot of things that Chandler does kind of Wizard of Oz style as we're talking. There's a lot of things up on the side of the screen, and he's like clicking the buttons to bring up, on YouTube, the banners that pop up. Sometimes he's typing them in as we're talking, and then he's clicking the different videos and throwing them to ads. It's hard. Like, it was very difficult to talk and listen to what Josh was saying and like think about clicking all of this. So I appreciate that you do that all of the other times, Chandler.
Now you understand why I just don't listen to anything you say
Yeah.
most of the time when we're talking.
There's a lot going on back there. So definitely glad to have done it once. Um, we talked a lot about obviously the Carlos Correa deal. You did a lot of reporting on that. Were there any kind of other mini bits of the story that you think are interesting that we hadn't really touched on yet?
I mean, you guys pretty much touched on that Jim Crane wanted this, and Jim Crane got it done. That is usually how this works with Jim Crane. If he wants something, 9 times out of 10, it gets done. The lone exception would probably be when they tried to acquire Blake Snell and Josh Hader at the 2023 trade deadline from the San Diego Padres. And then that next winter, they signed Josh Hader to the largest free agent deal in Crane's ownership tenure. So he does end up getting what he wants most of the time. But even the times he doesn't, it ends up working out for him. It really just seemed like this was a perfect storm of things that happened, and it was funny. I was on a radio hit like a day later, the day after the deadline, and someone brought up, if this they brought if Alex Bregman does this and this doesn't happen, then Carlos. I was like, guys, you're over making this over dramatic. If Isaac Paredes doesn't tear his hamstring running down the first base line in Seattle, this doesn't happen. Like, that was the impetus for this. They needed a third baseman, they needed an infielder, and you know what? Jim Crane in his ownership tenure has shown that he's not real big on just going to the mushy middle. He doesn't want, Ramon Urias was not going to be satisfactory for a Jim Crane style trade deadline. And he and from some things I have gathered, Bob Nightingale first reported this in USA Today earlier today, and it is something that I had heard a little bit. This was pretty much directly Jim Crane called, members of the Pohlad family who own the Twins, and they talked the money. This was basically an owner to owner deal, and you would expect that when you've got Carlos has $103 million left on his contract, and they were talking about how much to eat, how much not to eat. Like, when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, like, that's outside of the realm of a general manager. Like, that's outside of the realm of a president of baseball operations. That would happen really in any situation like this. But yeah, this was Jim Crane driven. Jim Crane got his man, and stunningly, Carlos Correa has not fixed everything that is wrong with the Houston Astros. They went to Fenway Park this weekend, and it was funny. I wrote about this a little bit today. They wanted this to be a celebration. Like, the Astros were trying to throw a party celebration in Boston at Fenway Park. They took the they took the rare step. They traveled a team photographer just impromptu.
And they looked great.
Yeah, and look, I mean, he Evan Triplett, he did a fantastic job. The pictures were awesome, but you could tell the Astros really wanted to play this up. Like, he got on a flight, didn't know he was getting on a flight, got on a flight, came down. They had him there. The mayor of Houston showed up on Saturday for no real reason, just decided to come on the field in an Astros sweatshirt and take some pictures. I guess the priorities of the fourth largest city in the country are real straightforward there.
It's a weekend.
Sure.
I'm sure he's partying in Boston.
I'm sure he needed a vacation in Boston on this one random weekend. I'm sure he needed a vacation. They wanted this to be like a coronation. Like, we're back. Like, Carlos Correa is back. We're the big bad Astros again. And then they went out for 3 games and played about as poorly as they have played all season. Fundamentally, it was they scored 5 runs in 3 games. The Red Sox scored 6 runs in the fourth inning today. It was there were base running gaffes. There were outfielders throwing the ball to the wrong base. There were bad situational hitting. Everything that could go wrong for this team went wrong this weekend, and it spoiled what should have been a nice vibes weekend, a weekend that they wanted to be special and they wanted to really kind of puff their chest out and say, "We're back. We got the band back together, and we're ready to go."
Yeah, they were bad. There's no other way to put it. Watching them was just and am I remembering correctly that they scored first in all 3 games?
I
Right?
Yeah, Christian. Yeah, it was Christian Walker hit
Yeah.
just absolute missile home runs
Yeah.
to put them up. Yeah, they did score first in all 3 games.
So after going what 18, 19
18
games in a
consecutive. Yeah,
row, yeah, then they can score first in 3 straight games and can't win any of them. Uh Even regardless of how it looked, just results wise, you simply cannot lose 3 games in a series where you have Fromber and Hunter Brown
mhm.
pitching and Garrett Crochet didn't even pitch for the Red Sox. Like you didn't even get their best pitcher.
Nor
You
did nor did Brian Bayo, who was their
right.
number 2.
So like regardless of how they looked, like you cannot lose all 3 of those games. Like you just can't. And it was bad. I mean, it was very fun to see Correa out there. I appreciated that they did the build up for the at bat and then it got kind of the air taken out of it by the guy getting out on base.
Yes.
And so Correa had seen a pitch but then hadn't, and so then they had to like watching it on the broadcast. It was just very funny because they kind of had to redo the like this is the first one back for Correa. So I'll always remember that. Speaking of Chandler, you were at the games, and so you did not experience this. Do you know that all 3 of these games were broadcast on different platforms?
I do because I woke up at 6:30 a.m. Central Time today to go cover a baseball game, which is ludicrous. I cannot believe
Mm-hmm.
they played that game at 10:30 in the morning. I hope the 15 people that watched on Roku loved it.
Yeah, I had it up only because I can do it on my phone, which I normally can't, and so it's early in the morning, and we're watching Bluey or whatever on
Uh,
TV, and so I had it on silent on my phone. But oh, I will say I got a lot of hate for this online. The Apple TV broadcast rules. It looks so good.
is it just the clarity, like the
Yes,
the,
it's
the quality
4K.
of it?
Yes, it's the only way that you can watch a game in 4K. Like even Comcast or whatever descales everything to 1080p. Sorry for nerding out on everyone, but the Apple broadcast looks insane. It looks like it's filmed with your eyes, like you're sitting in the game. And yeah, I get that people get fussy about national broadcasters or whatever, but Apple TV Plus, you can literally click a button and change it to your local radio
Mhm.
broadcast, and you get these unbelievable image quality, and the cinematography is great. They do a lot of really cool. They do a bunch of like sunset shots and stuff. It was awesome. So I don't know why. I get it's because if you don't have Apple TV, you're mad that you can't watch the Astros that day. But the broadcasts are incredible.
I think the one thing that they could meld these two things together. I think what Roku does, they do it the right way. They had Dave O'Brien, who is the play-by-play guy for the Red Sox, and then they had Blummer working with him as
Mm-hmm.
the color guy. So they had a Red Sox representative, an Astros representative, and then Julia did the field reporting. I think if they did that on the Apple broadcast, I think that would be the best of both worlds. You get the best quality, and then you don't have all the fans getting mad that their local broadcast is not involved.
Yeah,
I don't know how did O'Brien and Blummer work together today on Roku.
they did good. They did another game earlier this year on Roku, so I remember already having seen kind of that play out. Uh, I mean it works. These people are not like airheads where they can't like change the way they speak about a game for one day, just because they're normally the home broadcast, and they know what they're doing. They
Mhm.
they can do the other parts of it. That's always the complaint, like when we talk about for playoff games or whatever, and it's like well, these are the national broadcast. I'm like, the people doing it 162 games could absolutely change the way that they talk and do a broadcast, and it would be fine. And they have immense knowledge of the players. But anyway, I thought it was good today. I didn't watch as much of it because it was a Sunday morning at 10:30. So
But you were probably up for 5 hours already by 10:30.
I'm luckily my girls sleep in pretty well, and that's because it takes us a long time to get them down at night. But I'm not normally up insanely early.
I mean, but you also have like a 2 month old. That
Yeah, well, he's just up always. I don't even count that as up. I'm
okay.
up 4 times in the middle of the night, but I'm not saying I woke up at 1:30 for half an hour.
Um, since Correa is all people want to talk about, let's your second first impressions of Carlos Correa this weekend in Boston. First of all, I thought he played. Of course, he had to play shortstop the middle game. They made a whole big deal about moving him to third base. His second game back, he's back at shortstop. But I thought on Sunday he was incredible at third base. And I think that is going to be the least of their concerns is how he's going to transition to third base. He made some plays on Sunday that you don't see like veteran third basemen make. He and Bregman were having like a back and forth as to who could, show off better at third base. It was really fun watching Correa play third base this weekend.
Can I pitch an alternate banner
Yeah.
title? Second first impressions, third. He was awesome. He was. I mean, of course, right? Like you're right. I was not even a little bit nervous because again, he played there in the World Baseball Classic. Like you've seen Correa play third base. Man, is he good out there? And he had a couple balls even in the first game. He had that fly out to center field that probably went 400 feet. He had some good swings. It's really really cool to see him back in an Astros uniform. I had somebody message me right after the Correa trade, and he said to tell you that because of your reporting before the weekend, he packed his Correa jersey for Boston just in case. And then
Nice.
he was really excited that he got to wear that
That's
in
awesome.
Boston.
That's
So, I mean, it's cool, man. I know, again, you're aware of what fans feel, but it's really special to have Carlos Correa back in an Astros uniform. I mean, I was very excited watching.
Yeah, I mean it's almost surreal to watch it and like to just walk in the clubhouse and see him and Jeremy, like they had their lockers were together at the Fenway Park visiting clubhouse, Correa and Pena. And it was funny, like Correa said on Friday, he said, when I saw Pena when it was official and I got back in the clubhouse, like I told him, I said, I never thought we'd be teammates. And now we are. And there were parts of this weekend for me that were surreal, just like watching him like, oh, this really happened. Like, and he's really here. And like the thing I have to keep telling myself too is like, he's not just here for 2 months. Like he's here for the next 3 years too.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like they just went and they're gonna run him out for 2 months as a rental and then he's gonna go sign for 8 years somewhere else like every other homegrown free agent that this team has. Like this is a long-term thing. And it took me a couple times to like kind of step back and realize that this weekend. But yeah, it was pretty surreal at times. Watching him play, there's some things that just never change. The play that stuck out to me, and they didn't even get an out on the play, but Ceddanne Rafaela hit the little dribbler today, and he charged it. And the throw he unleashed, like there are not 3 third basemen in baseball that make that play even close.
Yeah.
The arm strength has not left. Don't
Yep.
worry. And talking to people around the team, that is why the arm is like the one reason they have no worries about him at third base for a couple reasons, because they can play him farther back when they position him, which will give him more time to react to balls. Because the one thing about moving from short to third, ball comes at you a lot quicker, especially from a right-handed hitter. If he pulls a ground ball to you, it's quick. And Tony Perez-Chico their infield coach was telling me, when you have a shortstop, 9 times out of 10, the balls that are hit to shortstop are pretty straight. Like the spin is true. It's right at them. Like they have to range at times, but there's no top spin. It's a pretty straightforward ground ball. third base, like there's a ton of in between hops. There's a ton of top spin. There can be a ton of different things that the ball does. And the one thing that Correa is so good at, Joe Espada talked about this, is his ability to just in an instant adjust, like read hops, read the way the ball's going. You saw it. You saw it today. I think it was Abraham Toro hit a ball with runners on first and second. Correa kind of had to go to his butt and like save it, but it was because the ball was taking like different hops and that different spin. He reacted so well. He started low, got the ball, got the force at third. He's going to be fine at third base. I think where the issues, not issues is the strong. I think where the Astros probably need to see a little bit more from him is at the plate, and specifically unlocking some of his power. Because the one thing that was pretty absent in Minnesota, sans the shortened year he played last year where he was an all-star, but again, it was 86 games. His slug just never really showed up in Minnesota. He slugged 345 in his Twins tenure. Hasn't hit 20 homers since he left the Astros. Hitting one almost to Lansdowne Street today was a nice start. It was interesting to hear Correa talk. He talked about how, the Twins overhauled their entire hitting department after last season. And he didn't blame the hitting coaches. Don't run with that. He didn't blame the new hitting coaches, but he said, when he struggled so mightily earlier this season. He had an awful April, to the point where like his counting stats are probably never going to recover from having that bad of an April. And he said, when you're struggling that bad and you've got new people around you, it's hard to come at it because they didn't know him. They don't know his tendencies. They don't know what he was like when he was on. Coming back to Houston, where he and Alex Centrone are very, very close. He's worked with Troy Snicker since 2019. I think that familiarity will help, but familiarity is one thing. Like he needs to produce for this lineup, a lineup that needs some thump and needs some consistency in the middle of it.
I mean, he looked good, and I mean that home run swing was classic. Correct. So you're right. The power hasn't been there, but it didn't. Watching him, it didn't look like the power was gone, if that makes sense, right? Like it looks like it's still in him. It's just got to be kind of figured out. You mentioned Tony Perez-Chica, who is an incredible infield coach. The Astros have had one of the best infields in baseball. He's been really, really good at that. Is he a good third base coach?
I mean, if look, he's going to get the brunt of the blame if guys are getting thrown out at the plate. I personally didn't think the Christian Walker send on Saturday was like that bad of a send, because if you go back and look at the replay, like Jaron Duran does not even have the baseball by the time Walker rounds third and heads for home. So like you got to make him come up and make a perfect play. The way this team was hitting with runners in scoring position and the way they've hit with runners in scoring position the last month, you kind of have to be aggressive. You have to take chances. Joe Espada was fine with this, and I asked him about it after the game. He said he was perfectly fine with it. Christian Walker's not very fast, and Jaron Duran made a pretty good throw. I think instead of judging Tony Perez-Chica by like who gets thrown out at the plate or guys he maybe doesn't send that you want him to send, I think it's maybe more instructive to look at their entire base running season, because this was something that they emphasized all spring training. Joe Espada said he hired Tony Perez-Chica in part because of how the Diamondbacks ran the bases last year. He wanted the Astros to be more aggressive. They're taking extra bases this year 43% of the time, which doesn't sound like much. It's above league average. Last season, they took extra bases 36% of the time. They are a better base running team this season than they were last year. Part of that is personnel. They have Cam Smith. They have Jake Myers, who is getting on base now, or they did have Jake Myers, who was getting on base. They have Jeremy Pena, who's the fastest guy on the team, who is getting on base now. That helps. But they are a better base running team, and I think Tony Perez-Chica deserves credit for that. But there have been some questionable sends. There have been some questionable holdups. And the thing, Tyler, I don't know if you agree with this, like it never seems consistent. Like there's some games where he'll be pretty like he's Gary Pettis. He's waving everybody home and like it's fun to watch and it's aggressive. And then there's some games where you're like, man, like he held in there. Like last night he was waving guys. No, it just hasn't seemed like there's been a ton of consistency with it. But again, every game and situation is different.
Yeah, I mean, that base running stat is really interesting. They certainly have seemed, you know, not even more aggressive, but just less conservative, which is what they felt like before, where it was like you could take an extra base, you're just choosing not to, or you don't think it's worth it, or whatever. So I definitely think there's been a difference in that this year. And your point is very true that it's difficult to judge somebody's value on just holds and sins because that's such a small part of what they do. You know, not to mix sports metaphors here, but it would be like getting upset with an offensive coordinator for like some third down calls in a game. It's like, you know, yeah, that's part of it and you can see that as a fan, but there's so much more to the preparation and to the work behind things than those like handful
Right.
of plays. But those have, you know, those there's been some bad ones, but yeah, I mean, I think you're right that the Astros feel like better base running teams. Not this weekend.
No.
This was it wasn't the worst. I don't know if you saw the Jazz Chisholm uh pick off at first. Did you see that one?
We could do a whole like segment on that about
Mm-hmm.
how Jazz tried to explain it after the game that he was trying to deke the guy because he thought the guy was, and which I mean the smart play for the second baseman would have been to let that fly ball drop because Paul Goldschmidt hit it, and you want to swap out the runners. You want to swap you want to put old Paul Goldschmidt at first base
Mm-hmm.
and get speedy Jazz Chisholm off the base paths. Jazz Chisholm said he thought that's what was happening, so he didn't want to be so close to the bag that if it dropped, he could run the second and maybe. But yeah, that's a rough look for a team that's not playing well. The
Yep.
Yankees. Speaking of fundamental disasters, the Yankees are a fundamental disaster every night.
And the team that beat them,
Whew.
watch out.
Oh,
There's our transition.
Oh man, the Marlins. They've won 6 series in a row.
500.
Like they're not gonna make the playoffs, but they're lurking around. They're lurking around the wild card.
Ryan Gusto is going to get that playoff start anyway.
Ryan Gusto got optioned.
What?
Like they didn't have enough. Like think about that. The Miami Marlins did not have enough room in their starting rotation for Ryan Gusto. That's where
Get
they
out
are.
of here.
Like they've come a long way.
How dare you?
Speaking of, Sandy Alcantara is going to start on Monday
Mm-hmm.
against Jason Alexander, which is on paper that's not what you want, but those are the games that the Astros somehow win 10-1.
Jason Alexander and Sandy Alcantara, huge when they were in the 90s, but have really fallen off in the past few years.
You know, Dylan Cease could have started that game,
Mm-hmm.
but or Sandy Alcantara could have started that game for the Astros, but I guess that's a different conversation for a different
There you
segment.
go.
Since this is so Carlos Correa heavy, of course, Carlos Correa is going to be our part of our DraftKings player spotlight. Tyler, Carlos Correa, we just talked about how cool it was to see him back. What did you think of the first impressions you got of him in back in an Astros uniform, and how can he maybe help this team going forward? A team that needed a spark. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They lost 12 of 19 games before the deadline. This team needed invigoration. They needed somebody to energize them. Carlos Correa, just by walking in the clubhouse, does that. Just his presence, his aura, everything about him. But what do you think he'll bring on the field to really help this team and propel them forward?
I mean, we've already talked about the defense, both being able to be incredible at third base already, but also when Jeremy Pena was out for a game, you're able to move him over. He can play there. So on the field, you know, there's going to be a lot there. But we talked about his slugging was down a lot in Minnesota, and it doesn't look like from the at-bats that you've seen that there's not something else to unlock there. So as we're looking towards this next game coming up, I'm taking him to hit a home run again. He had a great swing today. I know they don't have the statue there anymore, but that would make me want to hit home runs more if you'd put a statue. Maybe that's why they took it down. But yeah, I'm taking Correa to keep it up and hit a homer tomorrow.
It's a pretty easy bet, not easy bet, but because Sandy Alcantara is going to be pitching for the Marlins,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly one that Correa is known for the dramatics. He's known for he has that flair, and when a team is struggling, when a team is scuffling and needs someone to turn to, you can look to either Jose Altuve or now Carlos Correa. So if you agree with Tyler, you can go to the Pick Six app on DraftKings like this. They have a bunch of plays you can make, some prop bets, some over-unders, some in-game bets you can make. And you can download the DraftKings Pick Six app right now and use the code FOUL. That's code FOUL. New customers, you play $5 and you get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside where a few bucks can turn into a bag. Only on DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Tyler, how much of this Red Sox series was a bad weekend, or did you have bigger concerns that this is kind of a more long-term problem?
I did. I've never seen this account before, but something popped up today of like MLB luck meter, and I didn't dig into too much of the stats behind it, but essentially it's expected stats and things like that based on how hard you hit the ball, whips, all those types of things. And in all three games, the Astros were like expected to win more than not. So they were all games that, like, if you just looked at the raw things that happened. Now, of course, that doesn't take into account terrible base running decisions and overthrows and things like that. But it's bad. It certainly is not what you want to see. The team is objectively better than they were a week ago. I mean, even without trades, just Jeremy Pena is on the team now. Like, they're better than they were a week ago. So if you thought this team was good a week ago, there's no reason based on the three games that you just watched to change that opinion, because you had a great Hunter Brown start. You just didn't score enough runs that day, right? If you score 3 runs, that's a game that you're like really excited about. Like, yeah, Correa played third. He made some good plays. Hunter Brown went 7, 1 run. Like that's not a game that you normally would be concerned about. And as rocky as Fromber's start was, especially in that 4th inning, he was able to lock in a little bit. I don't know. It's bad, but I don't think it's anything that you're concerned about moving forward just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it probably makes it worse that the Mariners took 3 or 4 from the Rangers, and they're 2.5 back. They're right. This is a division race again. Like, This is not. You can't just say that the Mariners are out of it. You can't just forget about them. Like, you are now in a division race. You are in a dogfight for the division, which is not something we would have said in June when the lead got up to around 7 games, and it just seemed like every time. That's the other thing. It seemed like every time the Mariners would lose, the Astros would win, and vice versa. It seemed like every time the Mariners could never win on a day that the Astros lost, and that has reversed course. And they've gained a lot of ground. That they made their team a lot better at the deadline too. They are an objectively better team with Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez at the corners, replacing whoever Ben Williamson was at third base and Luke Raley at first base. Like, they are a better team with those guys. They probably, on paper, have the best lineup in the American League. And I know that's going to kill Josh Reddick to hear me say that, but yeah, I mean, when you can go a lineup of Crawford, Arozarena, Julio, Cal, Suarez, Naylor, like, that's good. Jorge
Pitching's
Polanco
good too.
Jorge Polanco had a big homer off Jacob deGrom today. Like, they've got they are a complete team. This is a complete club. This is not going to be easy. The Astros are in a dogfight for the division. But when you look at this weekend, no one wants to hear this, but they got 3 hits on Sunday. That was bad. That was one of the worst games they played all year, just in terms of energy, in terms of just production. Like, it was not good. They got 3.
They're so sleepy.
blame Roku. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If the Astros lose the American League West by one game, they can blame Roku for having to play at 10:30 in the morning on this Sunday. But in the first two games of that series, they took 17 at bats with runners in scoring position. They got 2 hits in those 17 at bats, but they took 17 at bats with runners in scoring position, and they left 21 guys on base. Like, I know it's cliche and no one wants to hear it, but like if you're getting that many opportunities, like you're doing something right. There is something going. Like, I just think it was a case of they needed a big hit. They needed one of those Christian Walker moonshot homers over the monster. They needed that with 2 guys on base instead of being a solo shot. They needed Carlos Correa to hit a homer today with a couple guys on base. But again, these things kind of work in ebbs and flows. This is how the season goes. There's peaks and valleys. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You hear this all the time, but I'm not panic button concerned yet. But I mean, look, this team has also lost 15 of its last 22 games. This is not, 2 things can be true at the same time. Like, I didn't view this weekend as like some huge, indictment on the franchise, indictment on the team. The Red Sox are really good. They're in second in the American League East now. They're comfortably in the playoffs. Like, that is you played a good team. At the same time, this Astros team has not played well for a month now. Like, this is not, now we are talking about the team that didn't play well for the previous, 20 games looks a lot different than the team that played this weekend. So you have to judge it through a kind of a different looking prism. But I didn't come out of this weekend thinking, oh man, this team's cooked. But I also I left it and was like, man, that's the kind of competition that they're going to have to play down the stretch, because I don't know if you've looked at this schedule, Tyler.
It's tough coming up.
Like, the Red Sox come to Dyken Park next week. Like, they get off of this road trip and they get the Red Sox again at Dyken Park. And then they got to go to Arlington. They got to go to Toronto. They got to go to New York. I know we just talked about the Yankees are a mess right now, but you don't just walk into the Bronx and win 3 games without trying. Like, they got to go to Detroit in September. Like, this is going to be they've got a tough road ahead, and they're going to play a lot of teams that look like the Red Sox, and they did not acquit themselves well against that caliber team this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of good tests coming up in the next 6 weeks. But again, you're right. The team has not been good for a month. But I think when you look at the team that played this weekend and even what they were able to do, like you said, with that many runners in scoring position, there's almost no correlation between what you did yesterday with runners in scoring position to what you will do tomorrow. It is a very random thing that just happens. There are tiny, percentage points you can equate to people who really have a plan. But as far as clutchness or whatever, there's really not a correlation there. So it's not something that you're overly concerned with. But yeah, it's a really close race. So they're going to need to, win a series against the Miami Marlins, which you wouldn't think would be a scary proposition, but apparently it is.
Since we've spent 34 minutes talking about Carlos Correa, let's talk about the other dudes. What did you think of your first look at Jesus Sanchez and maybe to a lesser extent Ramon Urias? Ramon Urias obviously did not play as much as Jesus Sanchez, but I mean, the fact that Jesus Sanchez hit third in this lineup in his first 3 games in an Astros uniform tells you a lot. It tells you how they view him. It tells you how highly they think of his bat. What did you think of what you saw from Jesus Sanchez in 3 games?
I mean, I get why when you watch that guy play baseball, you're like, I bet that guy's really good at baseball. If you're just watching for one at bat, I can see how you can look at him and be like, man, that looks like a really good baseball player. And we saw snippets of that. Defense was rough. That was not great. Part of that I will give, a little bit of, a fly here where he's a right fielder. He's playing left field for essentially the first time in Fenway, which is already a very weird left field to navigate. So I'm willing to overlook that. He did play right field today and was not good there either. So we'll figure that out at some point. But the at-bats, I thought, looked good. And we talked about on the last podcast, but man, his his like raw numbers are very impressive. His bat speed, his exit velo is all stuff that you look at and go, I bet the Astros can unlock something in there. Um, you mentioned Ramon Urias, but he played a little bit. It looks like he can play a couple of different positions, which is
Yeah.
nice. Bats look good, but yeah, Jesus Sanchez really made a good impression at the plate, at least to me. Base running was a little rough too. So
That's right. In.
we'll work on the other parts first. But yeah, the hitting looked good.
Yeah. The thing about Jesus Sanchez is going to be interesting. And Joe Espada talked both to Jesus Sanchez about this and then talked to us about it. This is a guy that's coming from a place in Miami that didn't really win much. There weren't a ton of expectations. There weren't the pressure there was a lot different. And the one thing Joe Espada has or tried to tell Jesus Sanchez in maybe his first day with the Astros was to play loose, to play free, and to not think that he had to come in and do something outside of himself. But I do wonder though that's a lot easier said than done. Like when you're a guy that is traded to a team like the Astros that has such high expectations, that is always in contention, and when you are, I mean, look, he wasn't the biggest trade they made at the deadline, but they gave up the most capital to get him. I mean, they gave up 3 prospects. Gusto's technically not a prospect anymore, but whatever. They gave up 3 dudes.
Well, he's in the minors apparently. Yeah, cowards. Yeah. How dare they?
But he was a consequential acquisition for this team, and that can affect guys very differently. Yusei Kikuchi came in here and embraced it. He came from a place that in Toronto where they were not good last year. The clubhouse was not in a great spot. The bullpen was terrible, and they were blowing all of his leads once he got out of the game. He came to a place where the defense behind him was really good. They had a great bullpen, and they welcomed him with open arms, and he thrived. That's not always the case. And I'm not saying Jesus Sanchez is going to go down the other path, but it's just something to keep in mind for a guy that is still relatively young. When you look at, his time in the big leagues, he is 27 years old. But I mean, again, this is a guy that has not played a ton of meaningful baseball. The Marlins did go to the playoffs one of the years he was on the team, but other than that, like he has not played a lot of just games with a lot of stakes, games with a lot where a base running mistake is going to be more consequential than it would be in Miami, or overthrowing the cutoff man like he did on Sunday and letting Trevor Story get an extra 90 feet. Like that means more in Houston than it did when he was with the Marlins. So it'll be an interesting adjustment for him. Again, I can't decide if it's good or bad that they're going back to Miami so quick that he'll get to like just go right back to Miami and see all of his former teammates. I can't decide if that's going to be good or bad for his psyche, but who knows? Maybe that lets him settle down, but it'll be interesting to see him go back home, go back to Miami. And one other person that we will see in Miami is Spencer Arrighetti. Mm-hmm. Spencer Arrighetti is going to pitch. I believe it will be Tuesday. Don't quote me on that. Don't run with that. They are TBA right now on Tuesday and Wednesday. They haven't announced yet when Spencer Arrighetti will start. I think it'll be Tuesday, but they could flip it and do it Wednesday. Who knows? But he'll be back, the first of the cavalry, the pitching cavalry to come back. A pitching cavalry that they think is going to be pretty effective because they didn't go get any pitching at the deadline.
And they traded one of their starters.
And they did. They traded one. So they have a lot in this. And as we've talked about, Tyler, Spencer Arrighetti is probably the guy that you look at and you're counting on him maybe more than Garcia, France, and Javier, just because those other 3 guys haven't pitched in a big league game in more than a year. They all had pretty major surgeries, reconstructive type surgeries. Spencer Arrighetti, look, I'm not diminishing a fractured thumb, but had a lesser injury, has pitched already this season, did not have to go through just a long spring training buildup. Like it's a little bit different situation when there's a lot of pressure and expectations on him going into the start and the final 2 months of the season.
Yeah, no, the Astros need him to get into the 6th with 3 or maybe 4 runs almost every time he goes out. They just can't have a lot of 3 and 4 inning starts from guys, or starts where the starters are just getting blown up or things like that. Arrighetti has to come out and just be a consistent pitcher because they need that. They have 3 slots in the rotation right now that you have no clue what you're getting on those days. But yeah, he's definitely somebody that you're counting a lot on, and there's no reason to think that he can't, other than it's going to take a bit to build back up. But like you said, it's not a reconstructive surgery. You're not concerned about re-injury, things like that, or pushing him too hard because it was just quote unquote a thumb.
Yeah, the Marlins are not a world-beating lineup by any means, but they have a below-average OPS plus, but they've won 6 series in a row. Like, they're vibing, they're playing well at home. I think there's people actually going to the games now. I'll get to see for myself, I guess, if people show up. But they're much like the Astros were throughout much of June. They're running on vibes, and they've got some good young players. You'll see Sandy Alcantara. This is a good little team. That sounded way worse than I wanted it to sound. Look, they're plucky. They're not gonna make the playoffs. They're not gonna they probably can't keep this up, but they're gonna be a challenge. They're gonna be a thorn in the Astros side. This is not when you looked at Astros Marlins last month. You're like, oh, they're going to go in there and take 2 or 3 without even trying, even with the Sugarland lineup they were running out 3 weeks ago. And now, no, they're playing very well. They have a good manager in Clayton McCullough, a first-year manager that's doing a very nice job. This is going to be a real test for them. The Astros are better. They have a better roster. They have better everything. But this is still going to be a pretty substantial test for them.
Yeah, we'll see. This is your first time in Miami, correct?
First time going to the ballpark, but not my first time in Miami.
Sure. You're down there clubbing a lot. You seem like a big club guy.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think you will see an alligator?
Perhaps. I hope. I'm from Louisiana, so they're just kind of attracted to me.
That's true.
They can sniff. They sniff my scent, and they just they waddle over to me. Yeah.
Yeah. They recognize a brother.
Yep.
But this is your 30th stadium, which is really cool. You've seen all major league stadiums now. So I wanted to ask you a few questions. One, I feel like, especially sports writers, everybody's kind of top 5 as far as just ballparks are pretty similar, but rattle off quick your top 5s here.
San Francisco, whatever it's called now, it's always Pac Bell Park to me.
Okay.
Just Seattle, it's always Safeco Field to me. It's T-Mobile Park. Those are probably my 2 favorites.
Okay.
I like Fenway Park. I really do. I was talking to somebody there this weekend, and it's amazing what they've done with the place, where they haven't made it so modern to where it's lost its feel and it's lost its nostalgia. It's not a dilapidated piece of crap, but it's also still got its charm for being as old as it is. They've done a very nice job keeping it up. Fenway's up there for me. This is going to sound very odd. I loved the Trop, man. The Tropicana Field was great for a variety of reasons. Mainly a lot to do selfishly, because very easy to work in it. There's so much space. You can press box is huge. There's no media that covers them, so you have a ton of space. And
there's a lot of empty seats to sit in, is what you're saying?
A lot of empty seats. You can just go, and it's easy to get to the clubhouse. It's from a working perspective, Tropicana Field is awesome. The one that doesn't get mentioned a lot that should get mentioned is Target Field in Minneapolis. It is low key one of the best ballparks you can go to. If you can go to Minneapolis when it's not freezing, if you can go to Minneapolis in the summer and get a ticket to go to a Twins game, you may not know who's on the roster now because they traded half of it, but go for Target Field. It is an incredible ballpark. I love Target Field, but if you take Tropicana Field out, that was just a selfish one. I would probably say my 5th would probably be, I'm not confident in saying it, but I like Petco Park in San Diego. But I like Petco Park more for the surroundings.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to quiz you.
It's in the middle of the gas lamp.
That's what I wanted to ask about, because a lot of times when people talk about their favorite stadiums, what they mean is the stadium itself, which is obviously a big part of it. But when you are traveling to other places, that is a part of your trip. You do need to build kind of a weekend around
Yeah.
that. So I wondered if you could give, because you're staying every time right next to the stadium, like you kind of know the initial surroundings. So if somebody's planning like a 2-day trip somewhere where the baseball game is, a very big part of it, but there's stuff to do outside of it, are there any kind of towns that you are like, oh, these are really cool downtown areas to hang out in?
St. Louis is an awful city, but the ballpark village and everything around Busch Stadium is very nice. Like I would do it if you've never done it. Just go hang out around there. Wrigleyville is awesome in Chicago. Obviously, if you're going to Wrigley Field, like do that once in your life. Everything around Wrigley Field is great. There's a ton of stuff to do around it. The Battery in Atlanta it's fun, but it also caters to a certain type of demographic and very much a younger feel. Tyler, you sort of went to an SEC school. I went to an SEC school. Like, um, it's a lot. It reminds me a lot of like an SEC football tailgate going to the Battery in Atlanta. And so there are some people that's not their aesthetic, that's not their thing. And so I can see why some people would go to the Battery and not like it, but I enjoyed it because that's kind of my aesthetic. That's what I like. But yeah, those are up there. There's some that I would tell you to avoid. Like Kansas City is in the middle of nowhere. Like Kauffman Stadium's in the middle of a parking lot. I would not recommend doing that. San Francisco, like the stadium is awesome. The Giants ballpark is awesome, but there's really nothing around it, like within walking distance or anything. The best bet though is Petco Park. We were just talking about. It is in the middle
too, right? Like Denver is,
yes, Coors. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff around Coors in Denver, but Petco Park, it's literally in the middle of the gas lamp.
So cool. If you've never been there, it is. There's even that bridge that walks over from that hotel, right? Like you literally don't even have to go.
The Astros don't
outside.
stay there anymore, but that used to be the Astros team hotel. They used to stay there, and I mean the guys would just literally walk the bridge to the ballpark, and it's
cool.
It's like you walk out of that ballpark, and anything you want. If you want to go to a restaurant, there's like 50 restaurants outside. If you want to go clubbing, there's clubs for you. If you want to go just have a drink at an Irish bar, there are plenty of those. Like San Diego is great. What a city. What an awesome city. And when that team is good, which they usually are, that place is electric. When we went up there last for that weird series in September where the umpires lost control, Jose Altuve took his shoe off, like that place was lit. And when they are good, that place is rocking. I would highly recommend getting a ticket, trying to go see a Padres game.
Would you be surprised to learn that on my trip to San Diego, we spent an entire day at the zoo?
No, it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, rules. The San Diego Zoo is awesome.
Are they known for having a good zoo?
Yeah, it's the best. There was a show on Animal Planet growing up that was like a trivia show at the San Diego Zoo, and I wanted to go on there so bad just so I could take the private tour of the zoo after. But yes, that zoo rules.
Given Cam Smith's current struggles,
you may need a week off to go to the zoo.
You need to get into the zoo to like go decompress and think about himself. That's gonna be interesting. I wrote about it a little bit today. That's gonna be an interesting next 2 months because with Jesus Sanchez on the roster, like they now have a pretty ideal platoon partner for Cam Smith, and if they want to play him,
fine. He's got to be so sleepy.
He's so tired. Like you can tell.
So many games.
You can tell. Like
he's got to be exhausted.
You can tell. He has hit the rookie wall. And look, there's no law saying he can't scale the rookie wall and then like go off in October. We saw Jeremy Pena do that 3 years ago. But right now he looks like a guy that needs a break. He looks like a guy that doesn't need to be playing every day. And the way Joe has written his lineups this week, he hasn't played every day. He didn't play the opener against the Nationals at Daikin Park for this series earlier this week. Did not play today on Sunday. I haven't looked at I think the Marlins are throwing 3 right-handers in a row. There's a chance he doesn't play in one of those games because they want Jesus Sanchez to play against right-handed pitching most of the time. So could be one of the situations where the conversations could get interesting.
I would prefer for him to get a fake 10-day injury and then say just like go sleep for a week. Like, just go somewhere and rest, and we'll see you in a week. Like, you've been great. Just go get some rest, because he looks burnt out. I mean, do you remember your first real job, like after college, that first year of just having a job that you had to do every day?
I was a busboy.
You were a busboy. I was a teacher, so I was just, I mean, by the time the Christmas break rolled around, I was like, I don't understand how people wake up this is so hard to keep doing this. So yeah.
Being a busboy prepared me for my current job, because like I would go into work at 4 and leave at midnight, which is basically what I do now. So
Yeah.
I was just destined to do this. But yeah, no, it's again, it happens to all. This isn't like an indictment on Cam either. It's not an indictment on the Astros medical staff or strength. Like this, it's just a thing. Like, he's 22 years old, and for better or worse, he came in when he ended last season. There is no way he could have envisioned that he would be on a major league roster on what's today, August 3rd, and for a contender playing as well as he has. I doubt he trained in the offseason with that thought in his mind. He trained to play a full professional season, but he trained to play a full minor league season, which is shorter. They have built-in off days every Monday. They can do different things with you. They don't play into October like this team is going to. Like, it's going to be tough for him. And you even saw like Mark Kotsay with the A's. Did you realize like they sat Nick Kurtz the 4th game of that series that he hit the 4 homers?
I sure realized it. I was definitely aware that he was not playing.
He didn't play. And Mark Kotsay literally said, like, I have to protect him because he's playing too much. Like, I get it. Like, Mark Kotsay basically said, like, I have to stop myself and restrain myself because I want to play him. Like, I want to keep running him out there. But like, if I do that, he's going to end up worn down. And I think you're seeing some of that with Cam Smith. So it'll be very interesting to see how the playing time shakes out in right field going forward. But Cam Smith, like us all, is very tired. So we are going to end this so I can go to sleep because I'm going to blame Roku again, because Roku, I've been up since 6 a.m. To make me happy and to make Tyler somewhat satisfied, you can rate and review us on Apple. You can comment on Spotify. You can subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can get notified every time we post a new video. If you like the videos, that helps us a lot too. Subscribing helps. Everything you can do. The outpouring and the views and the subs for the last couple podcasts have been through the roof. They've been some of our best yet. I'm going to ascribe it to great hosts, to great insight, to great analysis, not to the fact that the Astros traded for Carlos Correa. But anything Carlos can do to get us more views, we will take. As always, you can follow me on Twitter or X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. As always, thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll be back soon. See you later.
Go see The Naked Gun in theaters on Tuesday when it's cheap and full of people. Bye.